So one experience that I had with my autism that used to really frustrate me was because I was raised in a more physically aggressive household. When I would get in a place where I couldn't regulate my emotions. So let's say something's happening that's like extremely frustrating to me and I couldn't find a way to express that verbally. And since I wasn't getting abused anymore, I would then become the aggressor on myself. So like for example, this scar right here, which is a self-induced scar where I stabbed myself, since I didn't self-harm anymore, what that translated to was me like straight up punching myself, like I would straight up beat myself up, bro. It worked for the time being, but like it wasn't until a few months prior where like I really took the time to sit down and I prayed to God and asked him to help me with this specific endeavor, which is when I realized, okay, that wasn't a healthy coping mechanism. And I started journaling, whatnot, and making music. And sometimes I would like scream into my pillows because it's like anything that would help me not physically assault myself was always better than me just straight up beating myself up. When I tell you it used to be so dark, like I have a very dark past, and I don't move forward in that same mindset as I did back then, because I believe that my younger self deserves an adult that can help them maneuver their problems instead of an adult that blames them for things that they don't understand. Because when I was younger, I didn't know I had autism. So a lot of outbursts I would have and a lot of just really, really weird things I would do, I personally didn't view them as weird, you know? And my parents didn't understand how to navigate those things either. So for them, I just looked like a unruly child that didn't want to listen, that would straight up harm himself over and over again, that was looking for problems, you know? And it's like, that was never the case. And when I tried to voice the concern that I had about myself, it didn't go far. So that's kind of like what put me in a position where I was like, okay, if I just silently beat myself up, because they don't do that anymore, so if I just do it to myself, I'll be fine, because that's what I'm used to, that's how I was raised, and that's what really allowed me to get better. But as you grow older, you are released into the world. That coping mechanism didn't work anymore for me. So it was like I was out in the world and I was just lost, and I couldn't go to my parents because they never gave me the time of day to understand what was going on, and they never tried to get any further than just having a shallow conversation that never really aimed at understanding what was going on mentally for me. They just couldn't care less. Yeah, dog, that was like the most frustrating time for me, I will say, because it's like I ain't want to get hit, and it got to a point where I just became my own bully, because I didn't want to get hit, but it was the only thing that was helping me stay quiet and not putting my outbursts on other people. I would have like constant episodes where I would like just harass myself and assault myself, because it was easier to just deal with everything internally than bringing it outside to people that don't really want to try and understand and just want to label me a weirdo or label me problematic, you know? It was very frustrating. That's why like I always tell my parents that they don't really know who I am. They have no idea who I truly am, because to know me is to know everything that I struggle with, and it's to try and understand where that stems from. They can't take the time to understand where that stems from, because then they would have to acknowledge that they spent a large chunk of my childhood neglecting specific things that I tried to bring to them. I don't think they have the ability to look that far into themselves. Introspection is coming into my mind, but I don't think they have the ability to really sit down and look at themselves and see where they failed, you know? And that's always been like the hard part. That's always been the tough part. I can see where they fail, and I can see where I fail, and I always take accountability for where I failed. But when it comes to them, it's always a game of hide and seek. They're running. It's just like always running away. And now that I'm an adult, I'm 23 years old, it gives them the excuse to say, oh, you're an adult now, so you can't keep blaming us for this, that, and the third. I'm like, you don't understand that on top of me having autism and the trauma that you've placed upon me, now I'm even more lost than I was before, and I have to navigate all that. I have to forgive you guys for what you've done. I have to learn to forgive myself because I was not aware, and then I have to fight to figure out how to move forward with life with this new information that I have, and find all the necessary help that I need, whether it may be the DSS or whether it may be Holly, for example, who understands the ADHD, autism spectrum, and the neurotypical side of things, because she and her husband deal with those as well. That's why I'm telling you, it's a godsend. Because if I didn't have God in my life, the way that Holly showed up and understood me to a T, oh my God, Jesus knows what he's doing, dog. But it's like, if God didn't provide me with these people in my life to help me navigate certain things, can you imagine how downhill my life could have went? Can you imagine how much problems I would be in that I didn't even realize was due to these things? Like, yes, I'm able to function now, but that's because I did a lot of the work that I've been begging my parents to help me do when I was younger, and they always neglected. Like, it's like, oof, Jesus is good, man. That's all I'm gonna say. God is good all the time.